It's Wednesday, August 14th, 2024. Campaign Kamala is cooking the books, or research results in this case. Mind your own damn business update with a grandma who got thrown in jail and why I've been wrong to laugh something off. Next on the AM Update. First story, courtesy of Axios, the Harris campaign has been editing news headlines and descriptions within Google search ads that make it appear as if The Guardian, Reuters, CBS News, and other major publishers are on her side. It's a common practice in the commercial advertising world that doesn't violate Google's policies, but the ads mimic real news results from search closely enough that they have news outlets caught off guard. According to Google's Ad Transparency Center, the Trump campaign isn't running these types of ads, but this technique has been used by campaigns before. The ads say that they're sponsored, but it's not immediately clear that the text that accompanies real news links was written by campaigns and not by the media publication itself. Google said the ads don't violate its rules, the misleading ads, but platforms have in the past wrestled with whether this type of format can spread so-called misinformation. Here are a few examples of the Kamala Harris campaign running ads from news websites, but dressing them up to make them appear much more positive in light. Here's a headline that they edited. VP Harris's economic vision, lower costs and higher wages from the Associated Press. USA Today, Tim Walz's military service, 24 years in the National Guard. WDAI Radio Now, Harris picks Tim Walz, 215,000 Minnesota families win. So yeah, they're cooking the books, or in this case, the search results. My question is, though, Time magazine just ran a 3,000-word booklet puff piece on Kamala Harris in which she didn't even provide an interview to them. It's clear the media for weeks now has been doing yeoman's work, carrying the water and doing just egregious propaganda on behalf of the Harris campaign. Why the need to cook the books when it comes to Google search results? I don't know. Lisa Hansen, a former wine mom and coffee bistro owner, thrown in jail for violating Minnesota Governor Tim Walz's lockdown orders, told Fox News the now Democrat vice presidential candidate essentially shut down and destroyed her small business, warning Americans, you don't want tyranny on this level. Check out this interview.
And this is the story that America needs to know. This is the story that America needs to hear. That Tim Walz is not some cuddly, joyful coach like all the things that the MSMs are calling him, or some of the things that they're calling him. That is not who this man is. This man would like to take your rights away. He will take your rights away, because what happened to me could have happened to anybody. I have seen firsthand, we, the people of Minnesota, have seen what Tim Walz, the type of evil he orchestrates. If he is elected as vice president of this country, he, in lockstep with Harris, who is also evil, will perpetuate this same type of evil on the American people. We do not want that.
That is Lisa Hansen speaking to Fox News, a grandma who was thrown in prison by the Walz regime in Minnesota for violating lockdown orders during COVID. That is a mind your own damn business update. The other night on the Stephen Colbert Late Show, I don't even know what it's called anymore. It's the CBS Late Show with Stephen Colbert. He interviewed CNN journalist Caitlin Collins, and check this out.
Trump has kind of been thrown on his heels by this, and he's not really sure how to go after Vice President Harris. He knew his attack lines on President Biden. He really has struggled with how to go after someone who's 20 years younger than him, who is a different gender, a different race. It's kind of been this moment where he has not been able to coalesce around a single attack line.
I know you guys are objective over there, that you just report the news as it is. No, I know. CNN makes it. I know
that's supposed to be a laugh line.
I wasn't supposed to, but.
Oh man, I've listened to that like 5 times now, and I laugh every single time. That was not supposed to be a laugh line, a laugh track right there. But even that audience in New York City taping and watching the Colbert Show there, they thought it was hilarious. They thought Stephen Colbert was being sarcastic. Yes, CNN reports in an unbiased and professional platform. Yeah, right. Yeah, we all know that. Man, you can't make that stuff up. To the state of Oklahoma we go. 21 Republican lawmakers have signed a bill that calls for a committee to investigate State Superintendent Ryan Walters in the Oklahoma State Department of Education. That committee could ultimately recommend that Walters be impeached. It's up to House Speaker Charles McCall to form that investigative committee. On Tuesday, he told his caucus that at least 51 Republicans need to sign on to a letter before he considers the request. Walters said in response to the letter, quote, "If they decide to move forward with that, it would be the most unprecedented move in state history to undermine the will of Oklahoma voters." The lawmakers allege failures to communicate with the legislature, not filing records requests and not carrying out past legislation. House Education Budget Chair Mark McBride, a vocal critic of Walters, cited a dispute over school security funding as the final straw. McBride said, "Among some of the other things, it's just been a buildup over the last 2 weeks or so." McBride said he's not yet willing to say that impeachment is necessary, but that committee could take time to determine if they wanted to. So here's what's going on here. These are a bunch of Republicans in the Oklahoma State Legislature. In the Oklahoma State House, deep red Oklahoma, who are seeing a guy in Ryan Walters basically not only de-pantsing the left on a day-to-day basis, but de-pantsing them, because his action every single day, just exposing and calling out and bringing to the surface the Marxist ideology, even in Oklahoma schools, it's making them look really bad because they're looking like a bunch of lazy-ass fools. That's what this is. It's plain old. This is coming from Republicans in Oklahoma. It's just plain old petty jealousy. It's not going to work. I wouldn't predict right now. I believe Ryan Walters, who is a wonderful human being, is going to come through this on the other side pretty much unscathed. Agents with U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement have located and arrested a Haitian illegal alien who had previously been released on a $500 bond despite facing charges of raping a child in Massachusetts. ICE had issued a detainer on the suspect, Corey Alvarez, but the local sheriff's office ignored it and released the 26-year-old on a low bail number. A detainer is a request by which authorities alert ICE about an individual they believe to be subject to deportation so they can take the individual into federal custody and deport that person. Alvarez was arrested in a so-called sanctuary city. The detainer was therefore ignored despite the fact he had been charged with raping a child. ICE officers found Alvarez in Boston, Massachusetts on Monday. That's according to law enforcement to various media outlets. Alvarez arrived in June under the parole process for Cubans, Haitians, Nicaraguans, and Venezuelans. The policy was first announced for Venezuelans in October of 2022, which allowed a limited number to fly directly into the U.S. as long as they hadn't entered illegally, had a sponsor in the U.S., and already passed certain checks. In January of 2023, Joe Biden's administration announced the program was expanding to include Haitians, Nicaraguans, and Cubans, and that the program would allow up to 30,000 people a month to fly directly into the U.S. to receive work permits and a 2-year authorization to live in this country. It was announced alongside the expansion of Title 42 expulsions to include those nationalities. Alvarez's charges relate to a March incident in which he was accused of raping a 15-year-old girl while staying at an illegal alien hotel in Massachusetts. A lawyer representing him says he's innocent of all charges. $500 of bail and completely ignoring detainers after charges of raping a minor. Just unbelievable wickedness. I have been wrong about something, and that something is laughing at Kamala Harris's favorite phrase. What can be unburdened by what has been. You'll forgive me, I think. Coming out of Kamala Harris's mouth, it sounds ridiculous, especially given the fact that she says it approximately 20 times every single minute when she's out on the campaign trail. I've laughed it off all the time because it's just such a nonsensical seeming phrase on its face, something that somebody would say when they think they sound really smart but actually aren't, that I've laughed it off repeatedly. Well, maybe I should be rethinking that. Here's Charlie Kirk with James Lindsay at a recent TPUSA event, talking about that phrase and how it actually might have some more insidious meaning.
The quote is that we can see what can be unburdened by what has been.
I can imagine what can be and be unburdened by what has been. You know?
What can be unburdened by what has been.
What can be unburdened by what has been.
Is that word salad or Marxism? It's Marxism. That is, in fact, not at all word salad. It's a Marxist incantation, as a matter of fact. It's like a spell. So you can see the possibility of a world that's unburdened from its own history. which is exactly what Mao Zedong did when he launched the campaign of Smash the Four Olds, the four old characteristics of Chinese society. They were going to make a new China that was going to be unburdened by what had been in the past of China. This is what the Soviets, the Bolsheviks, did when they took over power in Russia, is that they were going to make the new Russia. They're going to make the new man, as a matter of fact. People could become unburdened by what has been so that they could see what could possibly be in the terms of a socialist utopia. So when she says that, I assume, given that her father was a Marxist, I assume she knows what she's saying, and I don't buy her idiot valley speak shtick one bit. I think she's far more smart and far more savvy than conservatives have given her credit for, and she is an outright Marxist. It is very, very clear in her language, and that's what the Democrats want to nominate for president right now, which is kind of horrifying.
Maybe you disagree with that analysis, but let me posit this. I think it's far better to err on the side of what James Lindsay is describing there, that she actually is pretty smart, that this Valley Girl shtick that she's got going on with the strange cackles every 5 minutes, that's not actually the real deal Kamala Harris. The real deal Kamala Harris is a Marxist through and through. And we need to be taking that seriously, along with the what can be unburdened by what has been moniker that she's made so famous. Always respect your opponents. That's one area, at least when it comes to that, what I thought was word salad, that's one area where I'm probably pretty wrong about that. I think she means what can be unburdened by what has been, get thee to the camps immediately. I think that's probably what she means. Let's just err on that side, though. Take our opponents seriously. That's it for Wednesday. We'll be back at it again tomorrow. I'm Aaron McIntyre, and this is the AM Update.